Hi, we're in the 8th chapter of William Schnell's 30 Years a Watchtower Slave, this chapter entitled God's Organization. And now he's talking about something that happened in the wake of the big announcement about the two organizations, that announcement made in 1926 in London. The incentive plan is the next subhead. The main aim of the Watchtower Society was to increase greatly the sale of their books. Each year, a new book, penned by Judge Rutherford, made its appearance. It was necessary to spark these intermittent sales campaigns with all sorts of inducements. We of Bethel were asked to take the lead, and since we received very little money for our work, we were told we could augment our income by making special effort to sell Watchtower books. The judge offered us in Bethel a bonus of 2 books free for every 1 book we sold. I have always been a good salesman, and though I only used Sundays for these sales forays because I had to work weekdays in Bethel, I sometimes sold 25 copies of Deliverance. That was the book Rutherford published in 26. 25 copies, getting 50 books for free. And when we were arrested, we pleaded that we were preaching and not making money on that, when in this case we full well knew we were getting a 200% profit. It was very disturbing to me as a Christian, and I still like to feel that I was a Christian, to realize that my conscience was being hardened by this organizational casuistry. To this day, those of Bethel and the pioneers get their books for 5 cents, and in selling them for 25 cents have a 400% profit. Yet when they are arrested for peddling without a license, they claim they are preaching as did we. And as I will show you later, they have made that claim stick. When the director became aware of my success, he called me into the office and suggested that this was too much money for me to get out of the sale of the books, and that it might have repercussions in our battles with the police if the truth ever came out. But the incentive system, in the form of profit sharing, caught on, and soon the Bethel reports were featured in the Service Director, a monthly organizational paper. This made good reading and caused many congregations to emulate us. Thus we, in Bethel, for filthy lucre's sake, were taking the lead. When once this pattern was established and reports began to come in of huge sales from all parts of the country, such reporting became standardized, with totals appearing in the monthly Service Director. Next came the setting of national quotas, the emergence of charts, and all the paraphernalia of a well-geared sales organization. Our sales began to skyrocket in the quotas and in the reports of the society. Now they had levers through which to exert pressures. If there were congregations where society boys or rooters were not present, we had to chip in and visit them, as I did in that Central German congregation mentioned a little while ago. We would then force the issue, or, as we would say, build a fire under them. Place books by the millions was our slogan. After all, the primary purpose of the advertise the King and His Kingdom campaign, which began in 1922, was to sell books. Now he has a subhead called Cadaver Gehorsam. It was very important at that time that the buildings which we were now in the process of building should be speedily completed in order that they might be put to use. Our congregations, our sales outlets were crying for books, more than we could supply. The society had invited volunteers from all over the country to help with the building. It was soon found, however, that since these were volunteers, they worked only leisurely. It appeared to the heads in Brooklyn that the work was going too slowly, and they pressured the director for speed. He hired 3 worldly, that is, outside gang foremen to supervise and expedite the work. These men had instructions to bear down on the brethren to get them to work harder. This pressure was augmented by the director from the spiritual angle. He made use of the consideration of the daily manna text, in the discussion of which the Bethel family daily joined over their breakfast, as the platform from which to reprimand the brethren. He went so far as to call for Cadaver Gehorsam. When he used those words, I knew instinctively that he had gone too far. That term is a German military term, which denotes corpse-like obedience. That did it. More than half the workers quit in short order, and many others left quickly thereafter. In fact, it became a problem to get new ones to fall for the call from out of the country. The leaders in Brooklyn coldly marked that result down for future reference. After all, our experience in Germany was to become the blueprint for the theocracy later to be established in America. It bothered these Watchtower leaders very little to set foreign taskmasters over their brethren in almost the same manner as the Egyptians had done to the Israelites, whose later history they, after all, were using as a blueprint for the establishment of the new nation. Much less did it bother them that such behavior was contrary to established Christian principles. What did matter to them was the fact that they learned that the brethren will not take to slavery under outsiders. They filed that valuable information away very carefully, and when the theocracy of 1938 was established, and thereafter, when they began to use theocratic exactors and taskmasters to drive on the kingdom publishers, or better, kingdom slaves, to a better quota performance, to larger placements of books or more regular attendance at the meetings, they used brethren, servants to the brethren, they call them now. It seems that most of Jehovah's Witnesses, having sunk so low in individuality, thinking so low in individuality thinking, and having descended to the nadir of a zombie-like existence, will put up with slavery if it is forced upon them top-down theocratically by their own taskmasters. Needless to say, they did have to hire outsiders to complete that building program in Magdeburg. I'll put in a link to the man who gave us advertising, who, by the way, was a close relative of Sigmund Freud. This all happened, interestingly enough, at the very same time as Rutherford was starting the theocracy around 1920. See you next time.